Alrighty, and we're on. So I'm sitting here at the All Out Performance Training Centre, or All Out Gym.
All Out Gym now, yep.
Yeah, in Bellambi, and I'm catching up with an old mate. So for reference, Logan was actually the second guest on this podcast, and it was December 2019 when I just sort of kicked off this little project. And back then I wasn't doing video or anything like that, but we're back. We've got video this time.
It was legit upstairs at
Mercedes-Benz.
Yeah.
In my workplace. So. So a lot's happened since then. Obviously, you know, we're sitting inside All Out Gym here, and it's a big space.
340 square meters.
Yep, 340 square meters, and so you know, there's quite a bit to sort of talk about in terms of you know what's happened between I guess end of 2019 and where we are in 2023. Mm-hmm. You know, you throw in between all the different things that you've been doing in your own fitness journey, and then you know you throw in then creating this and moving into this. Space, there's a lot there.
It's been an experience.
So, you don't have to face the camera. You can face me, whatever's more comfortable. Yeah.
We'll get a bit more in depth.
Yeah. All right. So, I guess you know when we last caught up, we talked about you know the footy stuff, the injuries, and then the electrician stuff, the sparky duties, and all that sort of stuff before you moved into becoming like a PT and focusing on that side of things. I guess. You know, a lot's happened for everybody in the last few years with COVID and all that sort of stuff thrown in the mix as well. But I guess, you know, one of the things that stands out for me when I was going through some of your socials is like you've been doing all these different types of comps as well. So you went into CrossFit and triathlons and all this sort of stuff. So I guess let's kick it off with that.
Well, in regards to my fitness journey, obviously, I went into, I think I'd just come out of a bodybuilding prep as we looked at on my Instagram just then, trying to piece together a timeline. And once I'd done that competition, it was like, okay, that's done. Don't really want to do that again. It's like, you kind of, I think the path was always going to be, bodybuilding is this thing that is a means to an end. And there was a competition at the end of it, and then you kind of have to refeed or look at what you want to do next. And CrossFit was the other thing that I was looking at the time, and I was like, oh, that just seems like you're fit and then you just keep competing. So after I did that, I found a CrossFit gym to train at, and I was just like going to that like religiously, like 6 days a week, doing my own, say, Olympic lifting training out of that as well. And stayed there for quite a while, did a couple of competitions in terms of mainly just partner competitions, didn't do any individual stuff. By the time I started to think of doing anything individual in terms of being like individual athlete, that was kind of when like COVID came around and all gyms closed. So that's what that happened. And during COVID, obviously we had to find stuff to do. And I was lucky enough that through having my PT business, I was able to like have some equipment to do some outdoor training. And I, for a 10-week period, we could get more into this, but I lived out of my van.
Oh, shit. Anyway. Okay, let's get into it.
You want to keep going on the fitness stuff first and we can go back to that?
We'll come back to the van. Yeah.
So I had like a barbell and stuff and plates in the back because I was doing PTs outdoors because of COVID. And I'd also found a supplier on Alibaba of fitness equipment during that time when I went to sell like all my stuff from my group classes, and it sold in like 5 minutes. So I'm like, oh, there's something to this. So I went on Alibaba and wholesaled all this equipment that I ended up doing. We can also come back to that. So I had like a barbell and stuff that I could use. So I was doing like some outdoor training and stuff. And then we kind of came out of that first little like lockdown and started training again. I ended up moving into another into a house after my van with someone that actually bought equipment off me that I knew anyway, and was just like kind of just going to CrossFit, just like going through the motions, didn't really have too many goals or anything like that. And then during, I think it was like maybe end of 2020, I started following an influencer on YouTube, Nick Bear, who is a quote-unquote hybrid athlete, bit of a bigger guy, but does marathons and all that kind of stuff. Started following him. And me being the impatient person I am, I was a bit like, okay, I'm ready. I want to run a marathon. And I just go, 8-week marathon program, like looked it up on like Google, like Safari. And I was about 102 kilos at the time. And during that time, I probably dropped about 4. So I was still like 98, and myself being like 5'10", like 98 is still so heavy for my height. And just one day I was like, okay, this is the date that I'm going to do it. So I did this 8-week program, kind of half-assed it. The night before, I ate like a burger from like this place in Wollongong, His Boy Elroy, and it's like fried chicken, like the worst possible food that you could be having before a long run. And then I just went and parked up at Stanwell Park and just ran to Cringilla, and then back to our place in Wollongong.
Yep.
And that was the first that was the first time that I'd run a marathon, and also the first time I ran a half marathon was the 3 that I did in the training prep for the marathon.
Okay.
So other than that, I didn't run really more than 10 kilometers when I was like 14, 15.
Yep.
And then I did this 8-week program, ran like 3 or 4 half marathons in it, like as well as being like 30 Ks and all that. And then ran the full. After that really sucked. And then I was like, okay, well, like what's the next thing? Firstly, drop a couple of kilos. So I was like doing some training, did a bit of dieting. And then I saw that the full length triathlon down in Huskisson was like a half Ironman distance triathlon. And so my next thing was like a 12-week program, just straight off of Google as well, to prep for that. And I ended up doing that in end of February of 2022. So that was like early last year. And like the prep for that pretty much went from around like October period and there was probably like a good, like, I reckon 9 months there where I wasn't really doing much because I had the new gym, and like over the other side, the other warehouse, not this one, and was prepping all that, and business just came first for a little bit while I was just trying to do some other training, doing a bit of CrossFit and stuff like that in there. So yeah, and then now I have a couple of goals this year of probably doing 2 half Ironmans. One, I want to just try and at least get a between like 5.5 hours, sub 6 anyway. And then there's a half Ironman in Waco, Texas that I'd like to go over there, because Texas is like, for me, I reckon out of the 10 influencers that I follow, I'm pretty sure like 9 of them live there. So, and I'm an ambassador for a company that's based in Austin. So yeah, so that
do you want to give them a shout out?
But yeah, BPN supplements. I had applied to be an ambassador for them before, and I think they just started taking on people from overseas. So like I think like 95% of their ambassadors are from the US. So yeah, they've been really good. Love their products. So yeah.
Okay.
Good.
All right. So I guess, in terms of, I want to talk a little bit about the marathons, but I do want to go back and talk about the van and everything else.
Yeah.
But when it comes to, I think a lot of people sort of take for granted that there's a real efficiency if you get your running down pat, and the best way I could sort of explain it is like when you watch, say, hurdlers run their hurdling distance, right? They don't want to actually jump too far over the bar, because then they're wasting speed by, going with elevation as opposed to just sort of like gliding over the hurdles. So generally you find that the tallest hurdlers are the fastest, because they just almost like walk right over or run right over the bar. When it came to you preparing for these marathons and things like that, like did you do any research into running styles or look at your own running gait?
So when I did the marathon, no, I was just like, there was this weird thing. It was like, it said run for this amount of time. And I was like, this is getting me nowhere near like the distance that I'm going to get. How am I going to be exposed to like enough distance? It wasn't until that I got into triathlon that I heard of, I think it's Maffetone method, and it's like running at heart rates. So like, I think it's like 70%, 80% of your runs should be at this heart rate of 180 minus your age.
Okay.
And you shouldn't be above that, and all your long runs should be below, so for me, below 153. And like a lot of people will say like, oh, like my watch is saying that my heart rate's higher than that, but I feel fine. It's like, you feel fine, but your heart rate being that high is your body telling you that it doesn't feel fine running at that pace or at that speed. And so I went over that, and heart rate became a massive thing. It still is now, that 80% of my runs are below that 153 beats per minute.
Yep.
And then I do my interval stuff to work on the speed getting quicker. And then in turn, when you do those long runs, you'll start to just get faster at a lower heart rate. Just from that combination of intervals and long, slow distance runs. And just getting the Ks in your legs. So a lot of the people that start out now, a lot of people just try and go too far. Like, well, not too far. They try and just finish it quick. I'll chuck that sensor on.
Oh, there we go. Are the lights on a sensor here, are they?
Just like when I'm not here, I chuck it on a sensor.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah,
save money.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just find that a lot of people, they will, when they start out, they'll be like, oh, I ran 5Ks, but that's like as hard as I can go or whatever at that pace, and they're trying to run, or they want to start running further, and it's like, you're thinking that you have to run at a certain pace because you're watching everyone else's paces that have been running for years or months longer than you. And the whole thing is, like, you just have to cover a distance. You got to realize that, like, these people who complete marathons, some of them, like, will run 4Ks, walk a K. It's like, you still complete the marathon. You don't have to run the whole time. And that's like, when I did my marathon, I didn't refuel or even like stop and like have a drink or anything until like 21 Ks in. By then I was completely rooted. Like I'd stopped actually out the front here, got some food out, tried to have a gel for the first time ever. It just stuck to the top of my mouth. Just got stuck in my mouth. I just had the worst taste ever. And my legs just seized up as well. And I thought that I had this thing on my watch where if I stopped, it was like an automatic stop start. So if I stopped, it would stop my timer, and then if I started moving again, then it would start again. But what I was finding was every time if I stopped or slowed down, it would stop my timer, and then I would start running, and then after like 100 meters, it would be like, oh, again. Resume. And I was like, did I just run that 100 and like nothing even got recorded? So that was like one of the things that I realized is like, doesn't matter if you like walk or whatever. It's like just about like covering distance, like cover that distance no matter like how long it takes you. If you walk a little bit, if you run a bit, like I truly believe that if people can keep their heart rates down to their like Maffetone method worked out heart rate and correctly fuel, they can complete like anything.
Yeah. So it's 180 beats per minute less your age. And then that's the ideal target range for your heart rate.
Yeah.
And so whatever pace that is, then that's what you should be trying to maintain to complete the marathon.
Yeah, and if it starts to go above that, if you can't start to run slower and it goes down via that, just walk until it goes down and then start jogging again. Try and jog a little bit slower and just make sure you keep fueling yourself. Make sure you're taking enough electrolytes so you're not cramping. That was another big thing right towards probably the last 5Ks of the marathon was like absolute hell. Like the sun had come out and I'd never felt hamstring cramps it's like I'd been shot. Like it's like every time I'd like almost like jolt because it would just like shoot up so much. And I remember just finding a tap and just like running it and like putting my head under it. and just trying to like drink because I was like, oh, I'll stop my cramping. But it's like, it was my lack of sodium intake throughout the day, like not taking in enough sodium, not enough electrolytes like the night before in the first half of it or anything like that. So, yeah.
So these are all interesting things that you learn, you know, just by putting yourself through the process, right? Like you won't, I think most people, they don't generally, some people plan, but other people, you know, you just do it and then you realize, oh shit, I need to actually think about this a little bit more and understand what's going on.
Yeah, well, I did like the marathon was like no planning at all apart from like where, like the distance.
Yeah.
The half Ironman was a little bit more planning, but then I left that thinking, oh, I could have done better. But like my nutrition for my half Ironman was like Sour Patch Kids, salt tablets and Gatorade.
Oh, wow.
And so that felt good. Like it got me through it, but I probably wouldn't have picked Sour Patch Kids because it's sour candy. I would have picked something like a Snakes Alive or something like that. And I actually had someone approach me about nutrition protocol for it, and I upped the salt tablets that I'd taken in, and I told him to have killer pythons instead. And they did their first half Ironman, and they were like, I felt so fucking good.
Yeah, wow.
And I was like, oh, okay, sweet. Like, I just like tested it on them.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Oh. And then, so what about the swimming components? So,
swimming for me is pretty like the other week I swam 2K.
Yep.
So that's like the distance. I think it's like 1.9. And I feel like if I did another plan, like when I start going into training for it again, I'll probably only swim once a week because I find swimming my 2K as the easiest one.
Okay, really?
For sure.
Yep.
Yeah. So it said for us to swim. The only thing that I would incorporate into my swimming is actually like kickboard stuff because I felt like I use a lot of my upper body.
Yep.
I did complete my swim in like 37 minutes, which was actually quite quick. Compared to like my bike and run. But yeah, I find that swimming is probably like my best leg. Yep. So going into a new program, if I'm to write, like I'll probably just write my own. I will probably just program swimming that like once. So
would the same thing in terms of the heart rate apply for swimming as well? Should you try and maintain that same sort of heart rate?
Yeah. Swimming's hard because you can't always look at your watch. Like you can't. You kind of just got to get to a point where for swimming, I just like judge my heart rate upon like how much I have to like gasp for air when I'm doing it. If I'm like really struggling, then I'll back the pace off. But like I struggled to in the race, not so much now because I've been working on it, is kick. So like I'd feel my legs like sink a little bit.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's that so much. Yeah, I have to kind of like feel that one out. And then for bike, it's a little bit lower again because there's not so much impact of you like coming down all the time. So the heart rate's up because the body's under a bit more stress. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I feel like with all of those, you know, I think most people take for granted when you think you can swim, you know, there's a difference between doing, you know, a couple of laps playfully in the pool versus swimming distance. And with anything, like as I said about the running gait, like when I was doing some running with the boys from the kickboxing gym, it was like, you know, these boys are putting on a massive pace, right? And like one of the fastest guys, Blade, is an ex-soccer player. So like he had plenty of reps doing lots of running.
Yeah.
And I think one of the biggest differences that I've sort of worked out when I would start these runs is that, you know, you can waste a lot of energy just with how you run, your actual running gait. You know,
sure.
The more you bob up and down, you're not actually translating that force going forwards. And so, like, there's almost like you find this sort of zen point where it's like, okay, if I focus on, you know, my head position not bouncing up and down, and I can really put that drive going forward, you actually can amp up your pace quite significantly without doing much else. You know, like I only realized that, you know, a few runs in that, you know, I would be sort of wasting a lot of energy just sort of like doing like this hopping sort of a jog.
Or like people like swaying their head side to side or whatever. But I actually came across a video that it was like this Nick Bear, and he brought a running coach in to like run it through his like company, his BPN supplements. And he, like, the lady was saying that you want to find your falling point where your foot falls down in front of you, and then just continue that.
Yep.
Fall forward, foot comes down. You don't want to be reaching like you would when you're sprinting, because that's where a lot of like shin splints and stuff come from.
Yep.
So that was like a massive change for me as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. All right. Let's go back to the little COVID side hustle with the Alibaba stuff, and then also the living out of the van. So
also, before we get to that, is your it's on low battery, so is it even charging?
That's a good question. I don't know what's going on here. Hang on one second.
I'm just going to grab a water while you're doing that.
Yep.
How you not sweating, bro?
I forgot this cable's there's something funny with it, so I've got to put it in a specific way. So it should be okay now.
Yeah. All right, we're back.
Yep.
I don't think I'm dying.
All right, yeah. So the Alibaba thing, selling gear, weightlifting equipment and health and stuff.
Yeah.
During COVID. Yeah. So you sold all the stuff out of the gym first, and then you realized.
It was just like outdoor stuff. So I just had 5 and 10 kilo dumbbells and some like kettlebells and stuff like that. And then just like shitty skipping ropes and stuff. And I can't even remember like how close it was to. I think it was like the day that they were like, this is on Wednesday, you won't be able to do any training after this. But up until then, get your stuff sorted, It was like such a strange thing, because it was like, why are you giving us 3 more days? Like, if it's that bad, why are you telling us on Friday that we have 5 days to like continue running your business, but on Wednesday, it's like, okay, like if it's that bad, what about those 5 days if like we have a huge group class and it spreads worse?
Yeah.
It's like, so on the Wednesday, I think I finished my group outdoor class. And I just went on Marketplace and like put it all up, and it like I just remember getting like this flood of messages and selling like all my 5s and 10s and like some 15s and stuff for like I said it was like double for what I bought it for.
Wow.
So obviously like I got it from like a
wholesale,
like kind of wholesale, but this was like SMAI stuff. So I got it on special because I bought so much of it.
Yep.
And then I just I sold it for like what it was worth, and it was like gone in 2 seconds. I was like, oh, there's something to this. And I'd used Alibaba before for like clothing and stuff. And I was like, I'm just going to go on and see like what I can get. And I had a bit of money in the bank, probably like, I don't know, 10 grand or something at the time. And I've gone on and found this supplier, and I was like, oh, how quick can you like get this equipment? So I'd like ordered like, I don't know, like some random number, like 7 barbells, some plates, and like, and then I'd like order a certain amount of plates, and I'm like, oh, this is how much it is. And I'm like, oh, what about another like 500 kilos less of plates and like 2 more sets of 10 kilo dumbbells, just like shit like that. I was kind of like going back and forth with them a bit. Ended up getting to a point where the conversations with them, it's very hard because you've got like a language barrier, obviously. Yeah. So a few nights like go by, like obviously we're locked inside, so there's a lot of back and forward. At the time, I was like playing, like I'd be back and forward with these people in Alibaba on like WhatsApp, and then be playing COD, having beers and shit. And like, because like we didn't have to go out, I'd just be like drinking and then like playing COD online, and then like I'd get a WhatsApp message and it'd be like midnight, and then I'd be like, oh, super motivated, and then I would just like jump on a Shopify, change my whole like online program thing to like equipment Shopify.
Yep.
And then just put it up. Like put all the products that I was going to buy up on Shopify at whatever price I wanted to sell them for, and just like wrote like pre-sale barbell, pre-sale 10 kilo dumbbell, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can train. And yeah, I just like put like pre-sale barbell, pre-sale this, like all that, and then I like went onto Marketplace and like put up another product, and it just said like dumbbells, and then it said go to this link, and it was like the link to my Shopify, so people would go through. And I remember, so I ended up doing that because I didn't like fully have I was like, oh, I don't really want to spend like all the money that I have or whatever, and I ended up waking up like the next day after doing that, and in the morning I had like $5,000 worth of sales. And also like not taking into consideration all the people who had been like, oh, is this still available? Like just obviously clicking that button, and then like other people who were just like super desperate had just like gone on and just like bought it, and then just like sent me just going, hey, I put in an order on your website, like just like confirming this so that it's real or whatever. And I was like, yeah, all good. Like it's going to be like a while. They're like, yeah, all sweet, because we were supposed to be in lockdown for like, I don't know, ages. So people just like wanted equipment whenever it came, and I ended up getting, I reckon I ended up getting like $8,000 worth in sales, and then had to like spot the other like 1,500 or something like that, and sold it all pre-sale.
Yep.
So that happened, did that, was back and forth with all the suppliers, had some issue, like run into some issues with like import tax and stuff like that, customs. Which like it just like it caught me off guard. So like that took away some of the profit, and I did that once, got back at the time I was doing some PT out of a storage unit at Kennard Self Storage, and I ended up getting another one that was like next door, and I was doing PT in one, and I was having the equipment in the other.
Yeah.
And all I had to do was like, once I got the equipment, which I actually had to drive up in my high ace van to get 3 ton worth of equipment. So like the plates, dumbbells and all that. And they like forklifted in. I was like in between like all these like massive delivery trucks, and I'm like in customs in a van.
The van wouldn't have moved after that.
Bro, the wheels were like riding on the front, like on the on the body, like. So they've like forklifted in. They're coming from one from the side, and then had to like force the 2 in the back, and it was just like I remember going down my van, and I could feel the wheels like scraping, but ended up getting that, and then like driving it down, and then for the next like couple of weeks, I just I'd be at Kennard's, print off all your TNT paperwork, tape it to the box where it was going to go, and I'd wheel it up to the front of Kennard's, and then a TNT truck would just come like every second day or something and like pick them up and go, and then I'd just be on Shopify just clicking, that one's done, that one done, that one done.
Wow.
So did that. I did it a second time as well, but the second time like a bit more stressful, like kind of it took ages more to come, and then it was towards the end of COVID, and they were kind of announcing, they were like, we're going to be opening up, and they're like, oh, not yet, and then we're going to be opening up next week, and then not yet, and then I ended up getting these orders out, and then like it would have been like 3 days later they were like, everything's opened up, and I was like, thank God I just got that out. Like, but yeah, so that was like what I kind of had to do during COVID to like have an income anyway. So it was either no income or that, and to be honest, like the stress that caused, like it seems like such a thing, like, oh yeah, like $9,000 in sales or whatever. It's like, yeah, but then spread that out over the time that it took me to like deliver them out, and all the time that I wasn't working, it ended up just being an income, to be honest, and it was less than what I would have made if anyway.
Yeah. And then the taxes that you didn't take into account and things like that.
Yeah,
it's just
it took away from it and stuff like that. Yeah.
But at least it got you through, right? So
yeah. Well, at the time as well, like, so at that time, they started opening up for like outdoor training. So I had some dumbbells and barbells like for outdoor training that I took out of my deliveries that people hadn't bought yet. And at that time as well, I was living in a granny flat, and I was like, you know what would be cool? Like living out of my van. I think I just watched that into the wild. And I was like, fuck, that'd actually be sick. And I'm like, but I like have a business that I'm running out of my van. I was like, you know what? I could do this now and it wouldn't like, I don't have to have equipment in the back of my van at the moment. So I could actually just go do this, like cancel this, like, this lease that I've got at the granny flat. It had already ran out anyway. And I just kind of was like, oh yeah, I'm moving back home to the guy. So he didn't kind of like worry about me or anything like that. And then he's like, oh, okay, yeah, sweet. And then I've just like sold everything that I had and made a bed base out of like a bit of plywood and some like 2x4 as the legs, so that I could put like containers under it.
Yep.
And then just like lived out of my van for 10 weeks, and that was around the time that I was doing the equipment wholesale stuff as well. So what I would do at Kennards, I would like grab my bed base, like lean over it and grab my bed base either side, lift it up, take it out, put it in my storage unit, and then drive up to customs, pick up my equipment, come back, take all the equipment out, put it in to my my storage unit, and then put the bed base back in, and then just like sleep in there.
Yep.
So I was just like cruising for 10 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so where would you park to sleep?
I just like down the beach and shit. Like during COVID, there were so many people, like, I don't know, they were like proper homeless or whatever, but I would be like down Trodgy where I was actually doing some PT. So I'd have like a barbell like in the back of my car, like under the bed base with like plates and stuff. And then, so I'd do like some PTs and then just jump in my car, go reverse up to the bowling club, use their free Wi-Fi and just like be in there. And it was like middle of winter, so it was cold, so that was fine by me. If it was during summer, it would have killed me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. And so, it's a pretty intense thing to go and do, you know, and then there's like, you know, was there any scary moments when you're out there and you know, when you're in your van and you hear noises outside or something like that, or?
No, not really. Yeah,
no, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. I actually, there was a couple of times, like, I think one time I tried to park at like Coldale Beach, and there was a group of like young people just like blind drunk, like going down and having like fires and shit. And I was like, please don't go onto the car. But that was about it. You just had to find your space. And when I found the place at Taraji where I was doing PT and stuff anyway, there was so many other people down there in like RVs and vans and stuff like that. Probably people that were actually struggling, but I just like made the choice. I was like, I'm never going to probably do this again unless I'm like traveling around. So
logistically, like when it comes time to have a shower and stuff like that, what were you doing? Jumping in the water? Or?
Yeah, just cold showers down the beach.
Yeah.
I like started seeing my partner again at that time, so maybe once or twice a week have a hot shower. But yeah,
that hot shower would have felt amazing though, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and like I could have had other hot showers, but during COVID, all like the pool showers and stuff weren't open, so couldn't go in there.
Yep.
But yeah, just jumping in pools and stuff.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
All right. That's a pretty intense time.
Yeah. Well, like to be honest, like it was all by choice. So
yep.
To me, like it wasn't like I could have gone home. Like my parents actually had the shits with me a little bit when they found out, because I was like I've been living in my van for 10 weeks, and I was like, fuck off, you have.
Yeah.
I was like, I didn't want to. I wanted to live in my van.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to experience that, like what it was like to just have nothing. Like I had my phone and my laptop. Did you almost feel
lighter as a result of it? Like I feel like, you know, like when we accumulate all these possessions, right? And then for me, like just me speaking personally, like sometimes I get to this point where it's like, why do I have all this junk?
Yeah.
Like, you know, like why do you need it? Well, you don't need it. And you just, once you get rid of it and you offload it, you actually feel better.
Well, to be honest, like the first place I moved out in Ferry Meadow was fully furnished, so I didn't own it. I didn't own anything then. Sorry for the coughing, guys. But I didn't own anything then, and then like in 3 of the houses that I lived in, or granny flats or whatever, I didn't have anything either. There was one time there where I like sold like my whole like kitchen, like knives and forks, and I just had 1 fork, 1 spoon, 1 knife, like all that.
Yeah.
And then pretty much like my move, each time I moved place was like bed, TV, fridge, and then clothes.
Yeah, wow.
Maybe a desk, and that was it. It's like I never really accumulate much. I haven't really accumulated much. And until like I moved in with my partner and a housemate.
Yeah.
And then now we've got
now you got space.
Stuff.
Yeah. It's our startup. Okay. All right. Let's talk a little bit about how, you know, so we went from that and then to you starting the gym again. So when did you kick that back off again?
Well, it all started like when COVID came around. I kind of got kicked out of the gym that I was in, just like as a side note kind of thing. And then from there, the reason like I kind of got kicked out was me and another trainer had a discussion about who would use the actual indoors of the gym during COVID, because you weren't allowed to have too many people in there.
Yep.
And I just said, you use it, I've got an outdoor space. And on top of that, I was still paying rent to the other gym, so it wasn't like I was dogging them or anything. And so there was obviously a misunderstanding there. I got kicked out of there. That's when I moved into Kennards. I was in Kennards for a bit.
Did anyone ever complain at Kennards? Because it's like, isn't that like, there's some like, wouldn't that be like some breach of the service agreement?
But like, like there was people living in their units and shit.
Wow.
Like, yeah, just like here, like in this like warehouse complex, like it's all through strata. You're not supposed to live in it, but there's people living in them. Like, it just is what it is. And like, it was during COVID. Like, are you gonna stop me from running my business? Like, fucking try. You know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to just like do some PTs and like do stuff out. And then like people end up catching on to me doing it, and there was actually a couple of other PTs who started doing some training out of there as well.
Yep.
But yeah, so that wasn't too bad. And then I just like built that up, and then I was like, oh, I need something bigger. Like I was doing a bit of outdoor training, and actually the thing that like spurred it was, my clients at outdoor training, when training in a park early in the morning and stuff, especially like around like East Cornwall, Bellambi area, you're exposed to some like real fucking weirdos. Like they come up to you. Like one guy specifically like came over. He like got the number, like called me about training, and I was like, yeah, sweet. It lasted 2 weeks, man. He was like messaging me at like 1 a.m. about like what he wanted to hear on the playlist at training and all this kind of stuff. And then he was being like real weird with like some of the female clients, like asking them to like go for coffee and shit. And I like had to like put an end to that. And I just got to a point where I was like, fuck dealing with this stuff, man. Like, there's like, I was looking around, like obviously I was like looking into warehouses. Looked at one first, and I was in like contact with a real estate agent who ended up kind of like fucking me around, and instead of leasing it to me, end up getting more of a paycheck by selling it, and like told me like once I like delayed giving me the agreement papers and all that kind
until
of stuff,
it's sold,
and then sent me the paperwork. I filled it out. I'm like, I can get you this, just like send them through. I filled it out, sent it back, and then the next day she just called me and goes, oh, sorry, this is already sold. And I go, it wasn't 3 months ago when we started talking.
Yeah.
Like, so that happened. And then on that day, I just went on to domain.com instead of real estate or commercial. And there was a guy that was a few years above me at school who had one of the warehouses outside, the smaller ones, like up for lease. And I just like contacted him straight away, called him. And he was like, bro, I just had this listing up for like 20 minutes. I was like, yeah, don't, all good. I've seen the inside of them. I just got like completely screwed over by the other real estate.
Yep.
Can you just like hit up the owners and say I'm keen to move in? Ended up being better anyway. It was like an end unit, so like we can like see the sun come up and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, so I pretty much got in there within like 3 weeks straight away. It was just in time for some like torrential rain as well. And so like just, moved in there. It was like real simple. Like ended up getting like a 3-cell rig to go on one of the walls for like $900 from some like gym in like Western Sydney. And that was just like how I decked it out. But soon to come was that I like was in there, and there was a couple of big mornings, like busy mornings. I'm like, I need something bigger. So I never really kind of like found it home.
I never really like set it up to look a certain way or anything, because like I reckon within like 9 months I was like looking on real commercial again, just like what's bigger, and then it was just lucky that the company that's next door to me was using this current warehouse as storage, and I was like, oh, like who, like, are you through real estate with this, or do you know? And he's like had the personal number of the owner. And so I ended up getting that off him and contacting the owner of this, even though it was up on Real Commercial, and sorted that out for this one. I think we ended up getting for like a 5-year lease, 5-year option. So kind of like won it over, because like everyone else that wanted at least wanted only like 3 years. So I kind of was able to like barter a bit and like organize like being able to like pay my my bond like over 3 months and stuff like that. So and then just like moved in here from there. So
then when it came to like fitting the place out, like how did you did you do it all yourself, or did you get people to help?
Well, it started out with this place was like a dump. Like it was like there was grease everywhere. There was so many repairs that needed to be happened to the roof. The place was leaking. And so I remember I had like a plan. It was like Wednesday, Thursday, get an industrial person in with an industrial gurney and like do the floors. I think it was the Friday, get a builder to put down the floor plates for the walls that you can kind of see around us now, like the ones behind us. And so then we knew where the mats were going. On the Friday around lunchtime. Oh, so that would have been Thursday, because then on the Friday at lunchtime, the equipment got delivered into the middle of the gym. And then the Saturday, Sunday, we laid rubber mats, we put everything together, and all the equipment and dumbbells and everything and rig that you see over to our left all got done over a weekend.
Yeah, wow.
That happened because at the time, the old gym that I had was still going to run as a PT rental space. And I was going to have both gyms, and kind of just didn't really get those numbers up until like probably 2 months ago. And I just ended up pulling the pin on it. And lucky enough, I found another trainer to take over the lease on the other one. So I got out of that a month early, and then I just moved the trainers that were supposed to be over there into here. And now it's just a community. Like it's like we've just got a trainer paying rent, a videographer upstairs, and then myself who runs the gym as well.
Okay. So then what's the videographer do for you?
At the moment, he actually works for Kerr and Ray. So he does a lot of his like videography stuff. He's on Kerwin's like kind of media team. He does a couple of like just promotional videos for me, helps me with some business stuff. We were just talking about him moving into like a management role. So just contacting businesses around, saying that like we'll offer like anyone, like so the jiu-jitsu gym that's just up here, like anyone that's like a member of your gym, like we'll give a month free or whatever. Because I feel like it's always better having someone of management come to a business than a business owner reaching out to another business owner. For like making money, you know what I mean? So like, because if I was to go to like a jiu-jitsu gym and they're like, oh, then why don't you come here? It's like, oh, like I might be somewhere else or whatever. I think it's just like better to have employees reach out rather than you business owner to business owner doing that. But yeah, he does a bit like, and we're also like, he'll do some like random photography for me, some social media stuff, kind of like whatever I asked for. If I plan it, he'll do it. But it's me that struggles to plan. Sometimes ask him to do some stuff. But we've known each other for a while now. He actually did some social media stuff for me and Riley, who competed with me in my bodybuilding comp, so all the way back then. And then we've like come to this. He also shoots for a couple of YouTube channels that are like massive, like motivation ones. So cool. It's
an interesting space, you know, like doing the videography stuff, and it's such a grind too, because it takes a lot of time to put these things together, and then you know you don't immediately see the impact. Like the impact, it happens over time, but you'd also need to be consistent. And I think that's like with any social media, it's the consistency that wins the game at the end of the day. Speaking of social media, like I think when the last time we did our podcast, you know, you'd just gone a little bit viral when you had the mullet and you did the vacuum thing.
Oh, that would have been, I think that happened in 20, wasn't last year because, so 2022 it would have been.
Yeah.
I think maybe September, I want to say, because I then went to, because I remember it was actually the night of the, like a football team that I was sponsoring at the time. It was their like award night.
Yeah.
So it was at the end of a season. And I'd got the mullet as like a bit of a joke on like the Australia Day or something like that. And so it would have been towards the start of the year. I can't really remember. It was definitely like an awards night of some sort, so it might have been like a season launch. But I remember I'd like the mullet had like grown out from Australia Day. It had grown out a bit, and I was going to this like awards night, and I was like, oh, I need to like clean it up a bit, like cut the sides. So we're in the at the house with my partner and a housemate, and I got them to like shave the sides to like clean it up, like so it wasn't so like sitting out like over my ears and stuff. And we're vacuuming, and I was like trying to get like the like wisps of hair like out of my hair, so then like when I brushed it wouldn't come out.
Yep. And
I like vacuumed it, and it like, because it's probably so oily, it just like sat like perfectly on my head like when I did it. And I was like, oh yeah, like feel like oh, film it. And so I've just like messed it up like over my face, and then they filmed it, and I've just like vacuumed it and just sat perfectly like across my head and like down. And then like curled at the end, and that was like such a big thing in the video actually. So on the way, for some reason, like on the way to like the season launch of the awards night, I just like posted. I didn't post anything on TikTok. Like I hadn't posted anything. I think I posted like a couple of my like lifts on like my clean and jerks or something. And what happened after that? Went out to the bowling club, and then we went out that night, and I was walking home because we came back to Wollongong, and I like just opened it up, and it was like, I think it was like 1.2 million views. And like I hear people now like talking about their videos going viral, and they're like, oh, it's hitting, it's got 100,000. Yeah. And I was like, I legit had posted it that afternoon, and then that night I looked, and it was like 1.2 million views already. And I was just like, I was pretty pissed as well. So I was like walking home, I'd been out drinking, and I was like, is this big? Like, is this big? Like, is this like, what the hell? And then I could see like there was like one comment, and it was like a crying face with like the curl at the end, like talking about like my hair curling up.
Yeah.
And it was, that had like 20,000 likes. Yeah. Like the comment had it. And this is like 6 hours later.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that happened, and then like went to bed, like woke up the next day, it was like at 3 million or something, and I was like, what the hell? Like, what is going on? Like, people are commenting, like tagging all their friends and stuff. It would have been like 3 or 4 days later that like Daily Mail like reached out and was like, oh, we want to write an article like about it, like Aussie guy like goes wild internationally and shit. My parents are ringing me saying like, oh, so-and-so said they saw you on the news. They're like in Queensland, and like people are I end up posting it to YouTube as a short as well. Yeah. And people are commenting on going, oh, I just saw this in the UK on like the news, like funny parts or whatever. And I was like, what the hell is going on? To be honest, like you go viral like that, I had like nothing to back it up. So you got a few followers like on Instagram and shit, but like I had nothing to offer. Like whereas now with that mindset, now that like that big viral moment has passed, like you would just be like, all right, go on Alibaba and find like mullet like health kit, and it'd be like hairstyle stuff, like, you know, like you're just like the moment passed. And the only other time that anything came of that, other than like people just like being like, oh, mullet guy and all that kind of stuff, was in January, the world's greatest race reached out to me, and they're like, "Oh, we saw your video on TikTok, and do you have any other like mates with mullets that could like come on like world's greatest race with you?"
Yeah.
And so that would have been like one of those races where like they give you the plane tickets and shit, and like go. And I was like, I'm 2 weeks out from doing a half Ironman, and I've cut my mullet off.
Oh no!
And I was like, so no, like I don't. And she was like, oh, that's fine. Like, well, maybe next time, like when you grow it out or whatever. And I was like, obviously the time will pass, and like no one cares about that anymore. But
yeah,
it was just like a funny thing. But
isn't it amazing what sort of what finds virality, right? Like it's just something that's there's lots of people that have mullets, right? But it's just like
I think at the time when I did it, started 2020 was when like people were doing it because of COVID, and there was a lot of stuff going around with like people doing COVID mullets. So now there is a lot of people with mullets, and I see now, like when I grew one again not that long ago, I was like, oh, everyone's got one. Yeah. But like at the time, I feel like mine was pretty like out there, and it's like people had just started cutting them, and then like to have it like, oh, how to style it. It wasn't even how to cut it. It was like how to style it. So it's like a byproduct of cutting it. And how clean the video was. It's just like perfect. And then, but it's just funny. Yeah, that came about. And, those moments, they don't, they come and go pretty quick. Yeah.
I think with most other social media stuff, like it's really that consistency of content. One of the things that I did, in the last year or so is split my channels, and just so that the stuff that's more related to martial arts, I could branch off and just have that separately. Yeah. And I found that I think that also, for whatever odd reason, that actually helps YouTube or the algorithm decide, okay, this is the content we need to push to these people. Yeah. Whereas if you try and put everything on the one channel, which I was doing before because I was just lazy, it doesn't really know what to do with you. Like it goes, oh, we know, this content's hit with this audience before, but the rest of his content doesn't really resonate, and it's like, why is that? And it's just because I was posting all sorts of different stuff on the one channel. It's not really about the volume of content. It's about the algorithm being able to place you and go, okay, this is who would be interested in potentially seeing this content. Yeah. And so, after splitting it, then it's like, okay, got to start all over again. But, over time, that growth sort of will go exponential as it sort of finds its mark and it finds its audience, and it will just naturally take care of itself. Yeah. In terms of, I guess, for you in with the gym, do you find social media is that helpful, or is it just more of a, your thing you do because everybody else does it?
A lot of like the gym stuff's been really a lot of word of mouth. Now that like I have a very specific way of like running the gym, my offer is very different to any other gym around.
Let's talk about what the offer is then. So just so people can understand what would differentiate this place from somewhere else.
So when you sign up to All Out, we have a consultation which includes an in-body scan, which is included in your membership. You'll have a consultation with a coach. We write 4 programs. The gym has coach hours between the times of 5 and 9 in the morning, and then also 4 and 8 in the afternoon. That's just because that's what I've found over the years at the most popular times for me. And then you pick a program based upon the consultation and like what your goals are. And then you can come in during coach times, or it's a 24/7 gym also. You will, every 8-week cycle of your program, you'll get another in-body scan, a consultation to see like where you're at, where you want to go. And you're also, during those times, you're coached upon our programs. So everyone that is in this gym is following a program that's created by myself. People aren't in here just like doing their own thing. Yep. They've got coaching. So the way I look at it is that I'm offering a gym membership that has coaching every day that you're in here, a program, with add-ons of like nutrition and stuff like that, as well as an in-body scan and consultations, and also 24/7 access to me through the chat feature in the app that the program's delivered on, for the price of a single PT session for a whole week.
Yep.
So, for example, like our price points are like 8-week commitment for $70 per week, $60 for a 6-month commitment, and $55 for a 12-month commitment. That's per week.
Yep.
And that amount is like what PTs charge for a single session, and you're getting it every day that you're in here.
Yep.
If you come during those coach hours, but then outside of that, you also have 24/7 access. And then on top of that, while we're going into business, for myself, once you start offering everything that is needed in a gym membership, when people start asking you for PT, your time is like limitless. It's like, I'm either in here having 20 clients on $60 a week come in during the times of like 4 till 9, and they're worth $1,000 to me, or someone's trying to take like my 1 hour, and like obviously selfishly a little bit, if you want to try and take my 1 hour now, when I offer you everything in a membership, I'll charge you whatever I want. And if you don't want it, then sign up for the gym. I don't care.
Yeah.
And that was a big thing. I've been listening to a lot of like Alex Hormozy, and like a couple of other, like reading a couple of other books, and that's what's got my mindset that way. It's like, if you offer everything at a certain ticket, and you then like, you don't need that like PT and stuff like that, you no longer have to fight for it. You just go, I'm worth $100 an hour. If you don't like it, then go sign up somewhere else.
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting offering. And I think you know, one of the big things is obviously, you know, people want to see progression, right? And like, and that also requires a commitment too, right? So, you know, a lot of the times people is like, oh, I'll do one session a week, and it's like, well, what are you really actually going to achieve by doing one session a week?
Like, why do you want? Yeah, it's like, well, I don't really want one. I don't really want someone that comes in once a week. And even when I was at one time, I was doing an online offering, and it was $2,000 for a 12-week program. But they paid the $2,000 up front, and that, along with my other PT services now, have a money-back guarantee that if they do what I say and they follow everything that I say to them, if they don't get the result that we agreed upon, they get their money back. So that was like, that's one of those things. Like, if you, and I remember having a conversation with my dad about this, and he was like, oh, don't you think that's a bit much for PT? Or online, I don't even see him face to face. And I said, you went and got a cortisone shot the other day, right? Cost you $500. They said, if it doesn't work, come back and you can get another one.
Yeah.
And see how that goes. I said, if they said to you $800 and it will 100% work, or you come back and get another one, or you get your money back, go, would you pick that, or would you pick the one for $400?
Yeah.
I said, I'd pick the one for $800.
Yeah.
Obviously. I said, well, that's like the difference between me saying $2,000 for 12 weeks or your money back, or you can go down the road to fucking any time and they will string you along for $60 a session, 3 days a week for 3 years, and you get fucking nowhere. And it's like, make your choice. Like, if you want to be cheap on that side, then so what?
Yeah.
That goes the same for like my programming. It's like if you want to be a member of this gym, yeah, it's $70 per week, but you're going to have a consultation, you get a scan done to see where you're at, and that's included now. Like, so every 8 weeks in your membership, it's included. Or you can go down to Club Lime down the road, buy a program online, have no one watch you, and
correct your form.
No one corrects your form. No one wants to fucking even work there, man. Like, people are in there. I remember, like, when I was in there, I remember going through there, and I knew, like, I've known people in like local gyms around here, and the reason I even came to the like business idea that I have here is because every single franchise gym that I went into, everyone that I knew there would complain about not being able to get clients. And I walk in there and I see 10 people that need fucking help. And there'd be people down at the front desk
doing nothing,
screwing around.
Yep.
During floor, they're paid for floor time, which is a piss take because they're not working.
Yeah.
And they just go and find their closest mate, and then they just and then they'll just talk to them. They go down to the front desk and hide behind there so they don't have to do any work. And there's someone up here doing crazy internal rotation of their shoulder on a lat pull down. That if a trainer went up and said, "Hey, look, I'm doing a free." 2 free PTs this week. Would you like to jump in? I can help you with your form when you lat pull down stuff. There's your clients there.
Yeah.
Stop complaining about your income when you don't even try.
Yeah.
It's like
not putting the effort.
So my whole business model is: here's your open gym, here's your 24/7 access, but here's this program that every trainer that's in here knows what you're doing, and we've created it to run a certain way. And during these times, these trainers are here to watch you, over you, and not screw around. And if you need a spot, if you need form check, if you need anything during these times, if you come, that's what they're there for.
Yeah. So you mentioned an app before. Was that something that you got designed specifically, or is this another program that you've found that you've sort of signed up to?
So I used to use Waterfire because I followed another influencer, Ryan Fish, who owns Chalk Performance Training, and Waterfire was just super clunky. Like, it was always like down because it's a US based company, and they do like updates like during our peak times. Then it was just a bit of a mess. It's pretty clunky. It was hard for me to program on. They didn't have a messaging service. They didn't allow you to track nutrition for your clients, like set macros. And I was using this other app, True Coach, for my online PTs.
Yep.
And I ended up just going like, well, really everyone here that's training is a, how would you say it? Like a PT that is like just training in the gym. So I ended up cancelling Waterfire like only a few weeks ago because I had a couple of other things that I had to do on there. I was just moved everyone to True Coach, and on there they have like the ability to chat to me if they're in here on like during the 24-hour time, and I can respond. I can set their macros if they want to do the add-on of nutrition. They have all their programs there with video examples that I've created myself, and yeah, and it just goes through that. And then like when they get a scan, there's also like the progress photo space that they can like take a photo of their scan or take a photo of their back, front and side to like keep in there. And that's kind of like, that's how I like run the gym now. And the only downside of that is that they didn't have payment processing for Australia.
Yep.
So I've had to go through Stripe for that.
Yeah. Okay.
So I just do Stripe for payment processing. And when True Coach come around to having payment processing, I'll move to that. But at the moment, I've just had to do Stripe, and then all the other stuff's on True Coach. So, yeah.
All right. That's pretty interesting. You know, I think I think that's one of the things that a lot of people struggle with. Like, you go to the gym and then you don't really have anything to sort of track your progress properly, and that sort of will take away that little pain point for them.
Yeah, for sure. Like people spend years, like especially like the male demographic, they like to think that they know what they're doing in the gym until they see a program and they learn what progressive overload is, and they learn what like that there is a reason why you don't train chest and biceps every day. There's a reason why you need to train some legs at least, or there's a better way to train legs. Yeah, you don't need to deadlift like 1RMs all the time and shit like that. But they don't follow programs, and they might get some newbie gains at the start, but then they soon find out that like they don't get very far, like doing kind of like those bro splits and stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's also the risk of injury, right? Like, you'd rather be the person that can turn up to the gym, almost every day of the week and get a solid workout in, but not come in and be so sore that you can't turn up for the next 3 days.
Yeah, well, my most recent like pure aesthetics program, which is kind of like the bodybuilding side of things, I've just made that so then there's two kind of like paths that you can go when you're doing the working sets, and that is that you can either, because I had a bit of issues with like people that weren't coming to the gym much, coming in and wanting to lift heavy, and when you tell someone to lift at a 7 RPE, which is a 7 out of 10 effort, for those that don't know, You should have about 3 reps left in the tank. If they haven't come for a couple of weeks, they come and just send it. And I was like, bro, do you have 3 reps left in the tank? And they're like, well, probably not. And it's like, well, that's not a 7 RPE. So what happens next week when you have to do 1 more rep? And they're like, oh, I probably wouldn't be able to. It's like, yeah, I know that when I'm watching you. But so what I've done now is with my Pure Aesthetics program is the 2 methods that you can do to like build to your 7 RPE is like either, just for example, week 1 is in 15 minutes build to a 1 rep max, and then give yourself 3 minutes break, and then go back to 70% of your 1 rep max and do 3 by 8. So you get your heavy lifting, get that out of your system, and now let your ego have that, and then go back to the number that I want you to work out for 3 by 8. And then the next week's 2 rep max, and then you go back to 75, and then the next week's 3 rep max, and then you go back to 80. So that's just like, it gives them the opportunity to lift heavy every session if they want to. And then on those same days, there's also the option, and it says either in 15 minutes work up to a 1 rep max, or in 4 sets build up to a projected 7 RPE or 70%. So they can either build up to the weight, or they can go up to that number if they want to lift heavy, and then drop down to the number that I want them to work at. Yeah, because sometimes it's hard for people to even know what a 7 RPE is. I'm like, oh, you probably only had like 1 rep left in reserve there, or they might be working at 50% because they're like, oh, this feels heavy. I'm like, well, it didn't change speed, so you probably had like 10 left in reserve, you know? So it just, and to be honest, like, I haven't seen this kind of programming anywhere. And what I've realized over the years is everyone has their own programming. That's why you can't find consistency in the industry, because you're always looking, oh, what's the best programming? It's like one that you make and people can stick to.
Yeah, this is the thing, right? Like, I think everybody looks for that silver bullet. We want the easy option, right? I think we talked about this in our first episode where we talked about diets and things like that. It's like people want to cotton on to what's the latest thing that's going to give you the most gains or the most weight loss or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
But it's about finding something that you can actually, if you do anything with consistency, you're probably going to get a result.
Yeah. Well, that's just like what we were saying about running before. It's like if you consistently run and walk at like marathon distance or half marathon distance, whatever you want to talk about, you'll eventually be able to run it. You'll be able to run. The first time you do it, you might have to run a K, walk a K. And the next time might be run a K, walk half a K. Yep. And then the next time run 2K, walk 500 meters. Next minute you're running 5Ks, walking a K, like whatever it is. If you stick to it, it produces some kind of result. Yeah.
So, and you've also, started supplementing your training by adding in a bit of jiu-jitsu. So let's talk a little bit about that, because I always find that interesting. So what made you think, I should probably try and do some jiu-jitsu?
Well, my partner works at a gym in Wollongong that is primarily jiu-jitsu, and I was just like, I'd done a bit in the past when I was at the gym where I met you, and I was kind of like, man, I need to have someone else tell me what to do, because I'm like, I need to tell myself to ride and walk and run, and swim and lift weights. It's like, I just need to go somewhere where like it pushes me, and someone else is telling me what to do. And I do have like a bit of background knowledge. So there's a couple of like, I know how to do a triangle. I know how to do like a rear naked. So I'm like not completely useless, and I'm like a bit stronger. So like at the moment we're like really heavily into like leg locks, so like heel hooks and straight leg locks and stuff like that. And that is like, obviously, think of like triangles and stuff. That's so like upper body dominant. Yep. And to like be learning this stuff, but it's like it's probably clicking for me a little bit quicker than what it would be for other people. But I'm really only doing it like I don't really want to like go up belts or anything like that. I just need it to like break up my life. I just need to, on a Monday, I get to leave this gym, go to another gym, be told what to do by someone else. Yep. And sweat it out. And so there's definitely a possibility that I'd do like a no-gi comp or something like that. Yep. Just to like
have the experience.
I've tried everything else.
Yeah.
Like, I've done bodybuilding, I've done CrossFit, triathlon. Like, I never said, like, I would actually say that, like I'm saying now, like, I might do a comp there. Whereas, like, when I was doing bodybuilding, I was like, there's no way I'd run 10K.
Yeah.
And then I ran a marathon. Then I did a half Ironman, which has a half marathon in it, plus 90K bike, plus 2K swim. It's like, now I just, like, I don't really say no to anything.
I wonder where that mindset comes from. You know, like, have you sort of thought about that for yourself? Why you, it's like, you know, it's almost like you're ticking off the list. You know, you go, oh, this sounds like it'll be a cool thing to do, and you tick that off, and then you go, okay, what's the next challenge? Yeah. Like, do you feel like you're always chasing challenges, or is there something else to that?
It's probably like an unhealthy thing, to be honest. Like, my mate always says to me, he's like, oh, it's like, feels like whenever you like get into like a good position, like whether it's money or something like that, you do something to like spend it all and put yourself in another predicament, like getting this gym and like, I don't owe people money, or I haven't been in a bad position or anything like that. But like more recently, I like to finance the gym. I sold my Corolla, which was like a 2021 car that I was doing like Uber and stuff in. So I was doing Uber at one point as well. And then I borrowed my mate's car for probably like 4 months, and then I just got that, and then he wanted to sell that, so I gave that back to him, and then my pop can't drive anymore, so now I've got my pop's like 1997 Mitsubishi, and like I put up a post the other week actually about this, and I was like, it's funny, like I don't want to flex on that kind of stuff. If I have enough money to like buy a nice car, like I'll buy it, but I don't need to like finance a fucking like Audi just to like have one. It's like I don't mind driving around this like 1997 like rusty red like wagon car, and then like having this gym. Like I'd rather have this gym, like, and I think this gym like really suits like kind of how I am too. Like there's nothing kind of like too flashy about it. It's like a warehouse. It's like, as you know, like I'm sweating my ass off here. It's like really hot in here, and the kind of particle board wall and like the tin, and like it's got a bit of it's just got a bit of like still like industrial feel about it. And
there's not even any insulation on the roof. That's why it's so warm.
No,
it's just
like my insulation is
tin roof.
Yeah, my insulation is open up both roller doors and putting all the fans on. But no, definitely like I actually like when I got this gym, I was kind of like, I'm not actually sure what comes next apart from like fitness based challenges, and that's why I'm like, oh yeah, like a challenge to me is going to be getting my passport, because I haven't been overseas in like since I was like 12. So because I've just had so much, like I think we probably talked about this in the other podcast that I went overseas like with my parents when I was like 12 in Bali, and then since then it's just been like did my apprenticeship, finished my apprenticeship, started the PT business, and then it's just been like starting PT business. And the reason I didn't go overseas even after 12 is because like during winter was when I was playing footy anyway. Yeah. So I just haven't had the chance, and everyone did their Kentucky tours, and now I'm past that age, but like I look at everyone partying now and I couldn't really give a fuck. Like I was like, to be honest, like to me now, like I'm doing like 75 hard and like having 11 weeks off drinking, cheat meals and all that kind of stuff, 2 workouts a day. I just look at what everyone's doing, and they've kind of like found their groups and their ways, including like people that I went to school with. And like, I just like, I probably have like 1 or 2 like close mates. And yeah, I do have like people that I talk to in the gym and stuff, but probably like 1 or 2 close mates other than my partner. And I really just like, I like don't really give a fuck. Like, it's like, that's just the way it is. Like if you're in a big group, it's just like how real is that shit? Like how many people like really know who you are out of those 20 people that you go out drinking with every weekend?
That's right.
How many deep conversations do you have? And I know that like my best mate, who's like living in WA right now, like he wants to do trading like as his job, like
share trading or crypto or something. Forex, okay.
Yeah, and he was doing that, and he just didn't have enough. He didn't have enough liquidity to like leverage like these big trades, and so now he's just overworking on the wharf, and when he comes home in June, he's been over there for 1.5 years, and his goal was to save $100,000 and come back and use that to live out that dream. And I know that I can call him and we'll talk for an hour on the phone about everything. And then I look at the other people that if I go to Northgong on a Sunday and they're still coming up to me going, "Oh, you're still doing PT?" I'm like, dude, I own a fucking gym, 340 square meters. I barely do PT anymore. I'm like running a business. Like I barely do one-on-one. It's like it's just that like empty surface level shit conversation. And I just like, I don't feel like I have the time for that anymore.
Yeah. It's look, that resonates with me because it's like the amount of times that, you have just a service level conversation, you meet somebody new or whatever. And then, I like the podcast is open to anyone really. Like I prefer talking to people in this format because we can actually talk about the nitty gritty. Yeah. We actually talk about what life is about. We talk about, what are all the things that sort of go into where you're at, how you got there. And, there's that real exchange of energy. Yeah. As opposed to, oh yeah, how you doing? Like it doesn't really offer you anything.
Yeah. Well, it's just like, and I know like it's, the nitty gritty is the stuff that like, I do have some clients in here that I've had like real good conversations with, and like I said about like the unhealthy like push to always have something more. That also comes with like some bad characteristics of mine. Like I'm kind of always like living on the edge. Like probably like if I do go out and drink, like probably, and usually it's with people that like I know, but like sometimes doing things that are very like in the moment, like making that decision. Like for example, like the equipment stuff. I went on Alibaba, found a supplier, had no idea. Who knows?
Yeah. Sorry. Right. I don't know why I've got that alarm on. Hopefully anyway, all good. I'll piece that.
Yeah. When I went on Alibaba, like purchased that equipment, who knew if that was coming? Imagine if they just like had already talked to a couple of people and they were like, oh, we can just put up that this is fake stuff, get 10 grand worth sent to us, and then just like cancel our Alibaba account, you know what I mean? And getting this gym when I had the other one, it's like I didn't know if any PTs would come over. It was lucky that I had one, and at the time I got a couple of new clients. And at that time I also had a struggle. Like there was a couple of people that were like training at the gym who were to me like mates that I'd had since school, and they knew that I was trying to get financing for the gym. I needed as many members as I could, and they fucking canceled their memberships and shit. Like, I think that was actually a big, like obviously I had like a big transition moving into being a PT in general, and like being in the fitness industry from the trade industry and stuff like that. But that was a big thing for me. Like I was like, oh, these people who like I'd known for so long don't give a fuck, and it's like, why do I? It's like if that person wants to make that response to what I'm doing, it's like it's don't let it consume you too much. Just realize that person or those people who served a certain part or a certain time in your life or served a certain purpose in your life, not in a greedy way, but in a way of like, you need to have friends at school, you need to have a group of people, and it helps. But if that time passes and they want to keep partying and not kind of like go down that route with you and like be supportive, there's not going to be many people who like want to support you when you came from the exact same place that they came from, as in same school, played same footy team, all that kind of stuff. And they see what you're doing in terms of like creating something that can be so big. And I know like this gym within this year will be known as one of the biggest in Wollongong, top 3, if not the biggest gym in Wollongong. Like this isn't a fake community. Like there's so many gyms around that want to be like, oh, #1 community, all this kind of stuff. It's like, you aren't even doing the same shit. Like you're all doing separate programs. The only way it even looks like you are is because like you take a big group photo at like a Saturday class. It's like everyone in here is doing the same programming. Like I've created all the programming that's in here. Everyone that's in here doesn't wear earphones. Like there's no headphones in here. Everyone's talking. People are here. My busiest time is 5 a.m. in the morning. There's no other gyms like that. And they come in and they've got the highest energy. No one's dragging their feet in here or anything like that. Like everyone's like happy to be here. Everyone's going like, oh, you on this program? Yeah. Oh, well, I finished Pure Athletics 2.0 like last week. Are you up to that weight and all that kind of stuff? And there can be that chat. Whereas like there's so many other gyms around. Like they say like they've got a community. It's like, no, you don't. You just got a couple of members who like have got the latest influencers program that they're following, and then you want to take a photo and say that like you all know each other and are best friends. It's like I don't consider that community. Like you can, other people might, but I feel like what I'm building here is going to be like number one. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's a very interesting thing. You know, just going back to what you're saying about when you were trying to get the financing for the gym, and you had people that would cancel their memberships and things like that. It's like, sometimes. I always think about this because I think there's this like you've got this inner demon that's always trying to tell you that you're not good enough, right? And so a lot of the times when things happen, it's like I might reach out to people to go and say, oh yeah, let's do a podcast, and then it's like for whatever reason the timing doesn't work out, and then like there's a part of you that goes, oh, it didn't work out for X, Y, and Z, and you get a bit annoyed about it. But then it's like I always try and pull it back and go, oh, it's not personal. It's like sometimes people are just fucking busy.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Like sometimes people are just they got things on in their life.
Yeah.
And you don't know what the full story is, and it's like when you then they come back and they message you again. They say, oh, I'm so sorry, I had this and that and whatever, and it's like, oh, I feel like such a dickhead.
Or
for
like
thinking that way,
if they like leave you on scene and then like you create a narrative around why they like opened it and like didn't reply, and you're like, fuck, like, oh, like what did I say? Like maybe like I'm not big enough or whatever, and then like 2 days later they're like, oh yeah, sorry, like I hadn't seen this or whatever. Probably like half of our conversation was that when we were trying to like tee this up.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's like that, right? And so that's why it's like I'm sort of gotten heaps better about it. Like I don't look at it from that perspective anymore. I just look at it from the perspective of, look, everybody's busy. Even myself, like, people ask me to do things and it's like, okay, yeah, well, let's, if we don't set a date and a time, it's not going to happen.
Yeah,
like, it's just pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's always great when people say, oh, let's catch up. Yeah, let's catch up.
Yeah.
All right. But it never happens unless you actually set a date and a time.
And I feel like you need that accountability. Like when it was good where you were like, oh yeah, day and time or whatever.
Yep.
And then you can actually put in your calendar rather than like, oh, let's do a podcast. And it's like, oh yeah, like next month or whatever. It's like, let's just put down a date and time. That's like ET, like at the moment, like when he's moved into this management role, he's actually like a couple of days in a row recently has just like messaged me and was like, today's task, clean your shit up. And it was like, it was like all the offcuts of like the wall and like the timber like, from putting this stuff up, and it was out the front of the gym, like cut off the rubber mat, and it looks shit. Like, and I just like, I at the moment am trying to optimize with this 75 hard thing, like trying to get 2 sessions in, and then my sleep's been really shit. And then like last night I got 7.5 hours sleep, and then like the last 2 days I've just like woken up with this crazy energy. Like, of course 5.5 hours sleep I'm going to want to do anything. And like you were messaging me about the podcast, I'm like, fuck, I can't even get around to my own emails, don't know if I can get this podcast done. And then I've got 2 nights of like 7+ hours sleep, and then I woke up, saw his message, and like if someone like messages, like someone that maybe has a bit too much of an ego might read that message and be like, clean my fucking shit up, I'm fucking busy, like whatever.
Yeah.
And I just read that and I was like, fuck, I full do need to clean my shit up, eh? Like I was like, I'm so glad, because he was probably getting annoyed about it. Like it looked bad. People are coming in the morning, like stepping over it. And I just like, I like looked at it and I just like double tapped it, like love hugged it. And I just like fucking got here at like quarter to 5 when I normally get here. And I just like started putting it in the car.
Yeah.
And then I went and did a tip run yesterday. And you know what? Like getting away from the gym and doing a tip run, doing a job, it actually felt good.
Yeah.
And it was just funny. But it was just funny, like the way he wrote it. It's just like, task today, it's like clean your shit up. And I got the storage cupboard built over there and stuff like that to put stuff in. So I started putting stuff in there. And now it's just like heaps tidier. And I'm like, and then today he was like, messaged me at, would have been like, 5. And he's like, task of the day, like contact, like walk over and talk to some businesses about a free month next month. Because that's what we're doing. So a free month at the gym. And I'd actually, funny enough, like already done it. Like because the owner rocked up to the business and I was like, oh bro, like free month at the gym, because he'd talked to me about it and stuff anyway. And he's like, oh yeah, sick, I'll start on Tuesday. Like I'm going away on the weekend. And he was just like, yeah, let's fucking go. Like I messaged ET back and I was like, already done it this morning. And he was like, let's fucking go. And he's like, it's just funny, like just getting these messages. And it's like that thing of accountability and not thinking you're too busy. And I know at the moment I'm like finding it like a little bit hard to get the 2 workouts in, but that's just because I'm like unplanned, really. And it's like anyone that's like struggling to like manage their time, I know I'm like scrolling on a bit of Instagram and like doing some mindless shit a lot of the time. So you just need the night before like plan out and just make sure you're ticking them off. Don't let stuff sidetrack you and make up shit. Like there was times that I was supposed to be doing critical work in terms of like emails and programming, and then I'd be like, oh, gym's a bit messy, I'll vacuum it. And then the next minute I've vacuumed the gym in 2 hours and mopped it and I haven't fucking checked my email. Yeah. And it's just like, just don't do that. Like the next day be like vacuum. That's not time critical. Yeah. Like,
I think it's underrated. Like, just getting sometimes the menial stuff, like you actually get a bit of momentum when you get it done. You just get it, you got to get it out of the way. Otherwise, when I always find if you have too many things hanging over your head, it plays on your mind. Because it actually impacts your own value of achievement, self-achievement for that day. You go, fuck, I didn't do this, I didn't do that. Oh, fucking what's going on here?
Do you want to see when we got up to?
It'll be all right because I've got the audio. I'll put a plug in. Sorry for those of you that are watching on YouTube. If there's a couple of blank spots,
you get a black screen with some talking.
Yeah, but the audio is all there. But anyway. So what I was saying was that sometimes it's like to get a little bit of wind in your sails, you do need to tick off those easy tasks that sort of gnaw at you at the end of the day. Yeah. It was like, oh, I didn't do this, something simple. It could be something simple like, even just like responding to a particular message or an email. And then, but the problem is that you're guaranteed the next day to get more of those things.
Yeah. Like,
right?
I feel like I'm getting a bit of wind in my sail now because I was struggling for like social media content, like other than like being like, oh, the gym's at this point. Yeah. Fucking how good is this? Like whatever. It's like I didn't really have anything showing like my own personal fitness journey, and doing this 75 hard, it keeps you accountable because it says like take a progress photo every day. So what I've actually done is I'll do my progress photo in the form of like a front, side, and back video, and then I'll also film something I ate and something I did for training during that day, and then I'll make a little clip of like my front, something I ate, my side, something I trained, my back, and then I create that video. I post my progress photo to the app, and then I will post that video as a reel, as a short, as a TikTok every day. Yep. Every day when I get to the gym from the day before.
Yeah. I think those, and have you found that having that discipline, has led to you getting more followers and
TikTok's starting to pick up a little bit. Instagram, like, I don't know, that just like feels like it's like dying a little bit. Like unless you're doing something that's like got a bit of progress, like even, I think my last like big post that got like, I think it was like 600 likes was my half Ironman, and I really haven't done anything that's like that inspirational other than opening up the gym. Since then, I feel like, and that got a bit of love, but I feel like I went through a little like culling phase, and I was like, oh fuck, like I don't want to like be seeing like why am I following people that I haven't seen in 7 years from school just because to follow them? So like I went through and unfollowed it to people. So, but people take that personally. They think that like, oh fuck it, like, and unfollowed me, so they unfollowed me, whatever. So I probably just like have lost that little bit of like people that would just like it as a thing.
I think it's also like there's a real difference between like a Instagram page, which is your like a personal page, versus a business page. And the reason why I say that is because like with my personal Instagram, the Johnny Apps Instagram, like even though I post like the podcasts and all the different things that I do, the film studies and all that sort of stuff, the way that I sort of approach that is very different. Like I've got some undisclosed Instagram accounts that I've, I did it as a bit of a challenge to myself to see whether I could build up an account. And so one of them's at like 138,000 followers. Yeah. On a topic that's completely unrelated to anything that people would know me for. Yeah. And I'll keep it that way. It was more just to prove a point to myself. Hey, do I know how to do this? Yeah. And it's like, okay, I learn a lot doing this. Yeah. And so then I thought, okay, well, I'll do it with another 2 or 3 just to make sure that it's repeatable, the process. And I got another friend who has done the same, and he was part of the inspiration for why I started it.
So what was your method for getting to 130,000?
You don't
honestly,
have to say what the page was.
Oh, I can tell everyone right now, and you're probably going to go bullshit, but it's literally just consistency of content.
Yeah,
it is literally consistency of content. You know,
are you willing to disclose the topic of the page?
I'll show you after.
Yeah, okay.
Right,
yeah.
but I just I typically won't associate myself with it because it's
alpha male.
it's just completely unrelated to the things that I'm known for. Right?
We'll talk about it after.
Yeah, but it was just one of those things when it happened. It was like, okay, like when I tell people, they don't believe me, right? They go, oh no, it can't be right. But I can literally tell you that there was nothing secret about what I did. It was literally consistency of content.
Yeah, you're either consistency with content that's like providing value, or you're hot.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's right. Like, if you want to start an OnlyFans, that's probably the best way, right? But I don't think my wife would approve, and I don't think I'd get too many people for an OnlyFans. Actually, I lied. There's probably like some massive like gay community that would love to see me on OnlyFans.
Right, I've got that community following me on TikTok at the moment.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Anyway, let's move on from OnlyFans.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was just one of those things that, and that's why it's like, when we think about all these like people trying to find like these secrets to success, right? Like it sort of just reinforced to me that social media is no different to real life. If you had the discipline to do what I've done with that Instagram account every single day, then anyone could grow an account that big. And likewise, if you applied that same discipline to your training, your martial arts, your diet, whatever you applied in life, you'll be successful at any of those things. And I don't by any like I don't. It depends how you measure success, right? But I would actually say to me, I feel like I'm the wealthiest guy I know, not in terms of monetary value. But in terms of, the family that I have around me, my kids, my wife, my friends, I'm so fortunate and grateful that I get this opportunity to sit down with people, really talk about, openly about heart-to-heart things that, a lot of the times people don't even share this shit with their normal friends. Right? So I feel very wealthy from that perspective that people will give me the time of day to actually share some of their stories and share these things. And that, I think the only reason I can say that I think that way is because, like most people say they want to be this or they want to be that. I'm living my best life at the moment, just doing what I do, and just trying to really be grateful and enjoy every single moment of it. Like I think one of the things that I learnt through my career in automotive was that you can chase goals and having goals is great. But once you tick them off, you then go, now what?
Yeah, I feel like working in, say, at Mercedes, for example, you would have a lot of people come through those doors that would have financed a Mercedes out their ass, and they really couldn't afford it. Like a young person come in by like an AMG or whatever, and it's like, fuck, like this car next week will just be a car.
Yeah.
Like you'll take a photo in front of it or whatever, and you'll drive it around a bit. Then it starts to make a weird noise, just like a normal car.
Yeah.
Starts to not go as fast as the car next to you.
Yeah.
Because another car pulls up. And it's like the paint starts to wear, and it's like it just becomes another car. And I feel like that's almost like where I am, but like I'm not, the things that I'm investing in aren't something that are going to deteriorate.
Yeah.
I moved into one gym, moved into a bigger one. I'm always going to want something bigger, but it's all an investment. I don't like, as I said, the car I drive is a heap of shit. And yeah, it's just there will be. I don't think there will be like kind of. I don't know if there's going to be an end to it. I don't think there will be. Like it's like when I moved into that warehouse, I remember taking one of those photos, my arms out, going like warehouse and shit. And it's like a couple of months later, I'm like, need something bigger. But I feel like this will be almost like the South Coast all out forever home. But then it's like, what comes next? It's like, but when this gets to a point, I feel like then there's the kind of infinity portion of online coaching that I can really push, and like it's gonna like the way I've set up this gym with like the programming available and all that kind of stuff. The online is going to fit so well into that because everyone that's going to be an online client gets the same programming as the people in the gym.
Yep.
They will go on the same app. they get to talk to me through the chat feature, like everyone else in the gym. And it's just a matter of like, okay, now how can I leverage it? Might have to hire a trainer that just talks to the people in the chat that needs to like then come back to me with like, oh, these are the topics that we had come through on the chat feature today.
Yep.
And all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, and even a trainer to like, so they can video themselves if they're not, able to physically come to this gym, but then they're training it in their own leisure or whatever.
Yeah.
Them recording their form so that, you guys can look at it and then correct it.
Well, yeah, you can send all that. Yeah. You can send all that through the chat feature we have. So it's like, it's awesome, hey?
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, we've done an hour and a half. So I think, let's wrap it up there. Unless there's anything else you want to talk about.
Well, look, I don't really, I don't feel a need to talk about too much, and more of it's just doing.
Yeah.
But like you said about this energy, like the energy stuff, and like getting some wind in your sails. I feel like doing a podcast is like one of those things. Like right now, I'm like just talking about like what the past was and like how far I've come. Sometimes it's a good opportunity to like be able to sit down and look at that and get remotivated again, just like you do sometimes. So yeah, this has been really good. I've really enjoyed this.
All right, I'm glad.
Yeah.
All right, thanks everyone for watching. If you are watching, apologies for the breaks in the video, but the audio's all there. You won't miss a beat on the audio. It's only if you've watched. So we'll talk to you next time. Thank you. Oh wait, before we go, tell everybody how to find you.
How to find me? Okay, so it's at Logan Cole Fitness on Instagram. I've got a YouTube channel which I secured Logan Cole.
Ooh.
when the what are they called?
The handles
came out. So I got that. Sorry for any other more popular Logan Coles out there, but I was too quick. And then I've got like TikTok Logan Cole with 3 extra E's on the end. And if you want any coaching, it's All Out Performance Train. No, it's All Out Gym with an underscore in between each word. And yeah, that's about it.
All right, in Bellambi in Wollongong.
Wollongong. And my little sign off before we finish is remember to eat like a bro, train hybrid as fuck, and go all out.
When in my mind, for whatever reason, I thought it was gonna rhyme, and I did not have a good rhyme to go with bro. It was like eat like a bro, something like a hoe.
Oh no, eat like a bro. Eat like a bro is my thing. Like I get so criticized on socials for eating like the simplest like mince and rice, and then like my tacos are like a crumbed fish taco just on a wrap with like bagged coleslaw, and I like have this joke that like if it's more than 3 ingredients, it's not bro.
Yeah.
And people like roast me for it, but and I try to tell them, I'm just like, have you accomplished any kind of nutrition goal, like a bodybuilding physique comp or anything like that? Because that's how I did it. So just like eat like a bro.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, thanks everyone.
All right.